again, and welcome back to Beyond the Compass, where the worlds of digital nomads and paranormal investigators meet at the crossroads. I'm your host, Eric Garcia, and today I've got a very special guest with me. He is a buddy of mine I've known for a couple of years now. We actually met about just over 2 years back at the Vulture City Paracon, I believe it was.
Yeah.
I was filming a video about that various Paracon, and his name is Shanclen. He has the YouTube channel Shanclen Shadow Productions. More on that in just a moment. Now, when I met him about 2 years back, he was actually working with a different group of paranormal investigators. They are indigenous paranormal investigators, indigenous ghost hunters. And now he's kind of like gone off on his own, started a separate channel, solo channel, where it's a little bit of paranormal and it's kind of his own thing. It's film production, it's film reviews of different films about indigenous peoples and their culture. And I've actually got one for you I want to bring up later on, see if you've seen it. If not, it's one you got to check out. I'd like to get your input on it. And this is Shanclen. Sean, how's it been, man?
Good to see you, man. Happy to be here, bro.
Yeah, welcome. I'm so glad you're joining us. I got like a million questions for you, but I broke them down into like a digestible half hour. Otherwise we'll be here forever. And now for this show, basically the way I have it set up, it's going to be like stages of a flight. We have boarding, and then we have takeoff, where questions are a little more about yourself, and then we have cruising altitude, and those questions I'll get into a little more detail. Then we'll have final approach, and then we'll have landing. So we'll start it off. Now, can you share a bit about your background growing up in the Navajo tribe and what initially drew you into the world of the paranormal?
Yeah, so yacht, hey everybody, my name is Shanclen. Introduce my clans. I'm a Shihanishli, Ado Bilagana Bushes Chink, Asche Ada Shache, Ado Bilagana Ada Shanella. I come from Black Mesa, Arizona. And for those of you who speak Navajo out there, yes, I am half white, but I grew up traditionally with my mother's side and everything. I grew up in Black Mesa, Arizona, so I kind of went back and forth between that and a border town. So that right there is a little bit of like my background and everything. We grew up going to ceremonies and all the way up until how my brother became a medicinal person for the tribe. And so that's essentially where my paranormal journey began. Like, as you know, you go to ceremonies and everything, you interact with spirits ever since you're little. So like the first time you interact with spirits is at a very young age. But when you is different, like compared to ghost hunting versus like ceremonial, like kind of ghost kind of thing. So actually going out and investigating and everything happened, I would have to say about 4 or 5 years now, I would have to say, when we first started that. But my brother being a medicinal person, we would go out and help doctor people get rid of dark things inside of the Navajo res. And yeah, that's pretty much how it all began.
Right on. Yeah, because I forgot to mention one of the key points at that Paracon, you and your brother and a group you were with at the time, you were like one of the main people I wanted to speak with because I'm Native American. I'm from Southeast Oklahoma, a little town called Sulphur. And pretty much if you're from Oklahoma, you're Indian. That's the way my mom always said it. Or actually more specifically, if you're from Oklahoma, you're Chickasaw. That's pretty much how it boils down. And when you were saying that, like, I didn't grow up as intense in the culture as you did. But at the same time, it's like, because of my mom, it's like we always had a very open mind to the spiritual world.
Yeah.
For us, it was never, and I tell people, for us growing up, it was never a question of, are ghosts real? More like, okay, who is it? Okay, we were more curious, because if it was one of our elders or something would happen, we like, yeah, that's our Aunt Hattie. That's something Aunt Hattie would do.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, what was, since I guess everyone was into it, pretty much your friends and family were supportive of when you started getting really serious into the field?
Yeah, so with the family and everything, kind of growing up in that indigenous background, going to ceremonies and everything, it was originally my idea why I wanted to kind of start this paranormal journey, I guess you can say, because we grew up watching like Ghost Adventures, grew up watching all these other paranormal shows and everything. And I really felt like a lot of times that they were missing a lot of key potential of interaction that they were looking at, because it seemed like they were kind of really stuck on just if ghosts are real or not. So our whole goal was just to try to bring the next level of interaction. So with those motives of trying to go about it in the indigenous way of how we were taught to interact with spirits, with that motive being there, our family was very supportive because our motives were right. Our most of the crew and everything were the friends I grew up with and everything. So, they grew up on the reservation, going to ceremonies and everything too. We all had similar interests and all that. So, yeah, they were very supportive all the way up to being our camera guy and going into fight these demons too.
So yeah, so for our culture, it's more of a given. It's like, oh, really? You
Mhm.
are? Okay, cool. You need someone to go with you? I'm there.
Heck
So what
yeah.
was your first major project or investigation in the paranormal?
So my first one, it was kind of one of those things to where when we first started unearthing the supernatural at the time, I it was one of those things where we're kind of hesitant, like, should we do this? Should we not do this? And it was just like, okay, my goals and what I wanted to do, I was just like, screw it, let's just go do it. So I went to go investigate a pretty gnarly place that had a crazy history, especially with our tribe, the Navajo. It's called the Apache Death Cave, and the story go.
Oh, that's by that old used to be a gas station
Yeah,
right there. I know
by
it.
a Twin Arrows, yeah.
Oh, yes, the Twin Arrows. I forgot the name
Yes.
of it. I've been that place. Yeah, man. Ooh, yeah. Go on. I know. Go ahead.
Yeah. So the backstory with that one is some Apache warriors a long time ago, Navajos and Apaches used to kind of war with each other. So Apaches raided a Navajo village, a Navajo encampment that was there, and some Navajos went out to go track them down, found them inside of the cave, and pretty much burned them all alive. There's about like 20 to 30 Apache warriors with horses down there. So they ended up killing them. So me being Navajo going in there, the person that, or relative to the tribe that killed them, was pretty intense. There was a lot of spirits in there. And that's when I first realized, that spirits can actually speak the native language through like SB7 and all that. It was pretty gnarly. So that was my first one.
Hey, so you didn't just tiptoe. You're like, you know what? Let me go all out.
Dive in the deep end. Heck yeah.
Yeah, because I remember the story. That's a brutal story. I
Yeah.
didn't remember if it was the Navajo that did it to the Apache or vice
Hmm.
versa. It's been a while
Yeah.
since I've been there, but yeah, I mean, yeah, that is an intense place. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
really a lot of good photo ops around their area just in general, but that's a very intense history.
Oh yeah.
Uh, okay, so now that was takeoff. Okay, now we've settled in at cruising altitude.
Oh.
So I was doing a little research, and here's something I noticed. Now, the top 5 videos of your YouTube channel, Shanclen Shadow Productions, the top 5 videos have a combined total of over 1 million views.
Oh
And
wow.
all five are on the same subject matter, Skinwalkers. Okay, so for those of you that may not be watching, that may not be familiar with Skinwalkers, a brief description may be, and correct me if I'm wrong, basically they're considered evil medicine men that have the ability to transform into different animals. And so I have sort of a two-part question and then another question after that. The
Yeah.
two-part is, especially when it comes to the subject of skinwalkers, did your family or tribal members voice any concerns about your speaking so openly about them? Because since it's been considered a very taboo subject for discussion of skinwalkers among indigenous peoples, even more so, I would say, for the Navajo. And second part to that, what do you personally feel is the fascination that so many cultures around the world have with the shapeshifter mythology?
So within our family, there really wasn't really any question about like or really worry that came with it because at a very young age, we my brother was more so of a medicine man that went against the
Hmm.
dark. So dealing with skinwalkers was something that we kind of always did for like a good decade by the time we already started doing that. So we
Wow.
we knew how to kind of go against and protect ourselves from these beings. Now it was from the people that really didn't know us, that was from the tribe, that would kind of tell us like, hey, you shouldn't be talking about this. Hey, you shouldn't be excuse me. Hey, you shouldn't be like speaking to this. It's taboo. Yeah, that those stories, but there's always a reason behind it because there's that fear that they, in a sense, when you talk about them or when you think about them, you're in a sense making a spiritual connection with them. and then they'll perk their ears. It's kind of like when you're speaking about somebody, you sneeze or your ear starts ringing or something like that, and you're just like, hey, I think someone's talking about me, something like that. And then they'll go out looking for you, and then they might witch you and all that stuff. So I always say in my videos, it's like, never talk about them unless you know how to handle them. And there's very few people on the reservation that do. There's some people out there that know how to go against them, and they know for themselves how to go against it. So could you remind me what the second part of that? Oh,
Oh,
the
second one.
methodology
Yeah.
of it.
What do you feel is that? I mean, there's so many cultures around the world that have
Mhm.
a certain shifter mythology.
Yeah.
What do you think the fascination is with that?
I just think the fascination is just being able to be a regular human being and to be able to learn how to shapeshift is something that is something that people always like, they don't believe, but there's so many accounts of them being able to do that, that it's just like, okay, there's so many accounts of this that it just can't be it can't be fake, there has to be some truth to this. So that's why, like, I made like the Skinwalker video, because Skinwalkers are a specific type of shapeshifter. It's like a different kind of category with it. And then there's every different tribe, every different nation around the world. What was really interesting in those videos is because it's that video has reached so many people. I've heard so many stories about like how they call them different beings all over the world. They have different names, different characteristics and everything, how they talk about them. So it's honestly a fascination, and just wanting to know more about the spiritual world is just like potentials that human beings could have, be more than what they actually are now, is what I think the kind of the hip thing is about this stuff.
Yeah, because I just find it so fascinating. You'll see so many similar creatures in mythology around the world. I mean,
Yeah.
in Europe, there's the woman in white. Okay, over here we call her La Llorona.
Yeah.
My dad has stories. My dad is in his early 80s, and he has a story of when he was 5 years old, and his big sister was scaring him, "Be good, or La Llorona is going to come and get you." So that's so ingrained deep in our Hispanic culture.
Yeah.
Um, you know, and so with shapeshifters, it's the same thing. I mean, they're called by so many different names
Hmm.
around the world. And one last question on the subject of shapeshifters. Now, do you think they are essentially, or as we know them here in this country, they're either an American version or a Native American variation or distant cousin to the Algonquin Wendigo? And for those of you watching or listening that may not be familiar with a Wendigo, the Wendigo is an Algonquin legend. Algonquin is a tribe from northern Canada. They're actually up there. They're called First Nations. And the mythology behind the Wendigo is that it's usually an evil spirit that comes about after someone's resorted to cannibalism. So I was just, do you see any similarities between Skinwalker and a Wendigo?
um I see the similarities that I see is pretty much that they come from evil sources.
Hmm.
The differences that I see is the Wendigo is more of a result of an evil action. Skinwalkers is more of a voluntary action, a result of a
Uh,
voluntary action kind of thing. So like a Skinwalker you have to go through like so many different ceremonies. You have to learn all these different songs, I'll do all these evil deeds to be able to become it. And then the Wendigo is more so of a desperate effort to, either you're out in the bush, somebody dies and you have no food and you just have to consume that person, or you were an evil person and you just resorted to that straight away. Kind of depends on the differences, but they are in the fact of a evil essence of a monstrous kind of being, I would imagine.
so one is kind of like happens by chance, and one is they have to make the conscious choice and then practice and train to be that.
Yes,
You would
correct.
say, okay, wow, I haven't looked at that. That's interesting. So, on a little bit of a lighter note, now these investigations, you go into like very serious places with a lot of times grim backstory. But can you share like a funny or unexpected moment that may have happened on one of your cases?
I think the funny parts would have to be with the group themselves. So us investigators and everything, all the members of the team that used to be here, we had a late member who passed away a couple of years ago, a year and a half ago. His name was Pataya. And one thing we always like to do is we always like to be happy on the outside. You know, when it's time to investigate, we get serious. But we're in all reality, like in Vulture City, when I met you, you know, we're all joking and laughing and
Yeah.
being
Yeah.
happy. You know, that's one of the things is always try to be happy. So
As well as a good defense.
yeah, exactly. You know, like if you're scared, you're feeding into the demon, you're making it stronger and everything.
Mhm.
So if you go at it with a happy heart, you know, you're already winning the battle right there. So
So that's the
there
key. Be happy when you ghost hunt.
yes, yes, be happy, everybody. You know, if you're happy, always think of a happy song, happy
Yeah.
memory, and then you'll
Don't
always win.
worry. Be happy.
Exactly.
Wow, I'm showing my age on that one.
So one investigation we did, I did a live stream on Facebook, and I was voted to go into this building called the Gila County Jail, and
Okay.
we didn't know the severity or how intense that investigation was going to be. I went in there before we started investigating, so I was voted to go inside of that building by myself, walk all the way up the floors, and check out the jail and everything inside. Man, it was intense. It was creepy as it was the most like scariest thing I've ever done. Like going in there by myself.
Were you filming yourself at the time was
Yeah,
it for video? Yeah, what
yeah.
a lot of people don't realize when they watch these ghost hunter shows and they're using those special cameras, you can see them there, and it's usually like a green tint to it. They think, okay, why are they acting like this when they can see what's in front of them? No, you really can't. That was what happened to me in Virginia City, Nevada. You
Hmm.
go upstairs, and when you're up there and it's like pitch dark and any noise is amplified,
Hmm.
and you know what happened in there, people died, and yeah, it can be. I don't care how big you are, how tough you are. You're in a dark building by yourself that's known to be haunted. You're going to be nervous.
Your
you know,
your your imagination becomes your worst enemy at that point,
exactly.
you know. So
It,
I was walking around and my nerves were really high and everything was just so heightened and everything.
mhm.
I finish it up. I walk outside, and Pataya was standing behind the door. I didn't see him. Right as I open the door, he does a jump scare. He's like, "Whoa!" and like freaked out, dude. I was just like, "Oh my god!" And everybody was just laughing. It was caught on live stream, you know, me freaking out and all that. But you know, it was one of those things. It's just like I wasn't expecting it because I was like, "Okay, we're serious. You know, we're here to do this," and just totally threw me off guard and everything, and just yeah, by far that's my fondest memory that I have.
Awesome. That's cool. I like that because you gotta you're already tense in that situation anyway. You're
Hmm.
already a little stressed. You've got a mission. Like, you got to focus. So you need some of those lighthearted moments to
Hmm.
just to like a defense and to make it a little more human and
Yeah.
relaxed. Now, in a field that's both ancient and modern, paranormal, how do you balance traditional practices with the latest tech in your investigations? Because it seems like nowadays, every week, someone's coming out with a new gadget for ghost hunting. And while I don't have a lot of that, I lean more towards the Warrens and John Zaffis school of the more old school, simple devices. And not that I knock the technology, but is there a piece of equipment that you can't go without, or a traditional Navajo method that's just irreplaceable? I mean, how do you balance the two worlds?
So whenever we would go communicate with spirits or really any spiritual side of things back in the day, excuse me, we we never had equipment when we go to ceremonies. Whenever we interacted with spirits, whenever we banished them and all that, we never had that stuff.
Hmm.
So that part was easy for us. Now, introducing modern day equipment was the hard part. You know, like seeing how reliable it is, what triggers it. You know, we notice like REM pods can be triggered by walkie talkies. You know, EMF readers can be distorted by phones and everything that you might have and all that stuff. So, trying to find the balance of traditional and modern technology, I would have to say modern technology validated the feelings that we would be having. It was more we use it more as a tool to validate our communication with spirits in a sense. So whenever we say like, "Oh, there's a dark spirit around," and then the REM pod where we're pointing at lights up, it's like, yeah, see, or
Yeah.
it's exactly what we're talking about and all that. So The piece of equipment that I would say I cannot go without is the REM pod, I would have to say. That right there, it's been used as a really great tool of communication. It's easier to use for spirits because all you have to do, they just have to walk up to it and pretty much touch it or gather their energy and touch it. Other
Or
devices,
or
go
just
ahead.
share a story when I first meet you, like I did.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
it's one of those things that like other pieces of equipment, like using EVP recorders and all that, you kind of have to use a lot of the spirit would have to use a lot of energy to be able to reach their voice to another realm in a sense. So that takes a lot of energy for that to use it. So just finding the thing that I found out at every investigation is find out what the spirit is more comfortable with using, which piece of equipment is easier for them.
Yeah, because even I mean, because it's one more tool in your tool belt, because
Hmm.
it's some of the traditional methods, it's some of the high tech methods, and then you have the in between. Like I guess in between would be like, for example, like Ouija boards.
Yeah.
I mean, what about you? Yes or no on Ouija boards?
Personally, me, no. I have my feelings on it, just for me, but like I see its use. But would I use it? No, but I understand why people do use it.
Yeah, I lean more towards but these days I'm a little more on the fence.
Yeah.
There's a man named Timothy Shaw. He's a psychic medium that's used on a lot of on Ghost Adventures, a lot of these ghost hunting shows.
Yeah.
And I saw him at a Paracon about 2 years back demonstrating. He was using a Ouija board, only he
Hmm.
used it like a drill sergeant. He was like, would it stop? Tell the spirit, no, no, this way, do this. Okay, and
Yeah.
go back to it. It was fascinating. So I'm on the fence when it comes to Ouija boards and how it's used. If you open and
Yeah.
close it properly, okay,
Yeah.
maybe. Other than that, yeah,
Don't be like those teenage kids in the movies.
yeah, definitely, yeah. Ooh, there's another movie I could recommend to you about that too. We got it. Yeah, there's so many movies I want to throw by you, and but that's a whole other. That might be a separate episode. Hey, best
Oh,
movies.
heck yeah.
Now, every investigator has that one story that sticks with them. Do you have a case that was like particularly impactful to you? Perhaps, either you're having to do with your on the cultural side or just on a personal level that's cultural, like didn't really have to do with the Navajo, but just impacted you on a separate level. Is there one that stands out to you more than the others?
Yeah, there's one interaction actually happened in Virginia City as well.
Mm.
It happened over at the what the really famous one,
The Washoe Club?
Washoe Club. Yeah, that one.
No, no, wait.
Yeah, it was.
Oh yeah, Washoe. Yeah, Washoe's
Yeah,
in Virginia. I was thinking for a second Bobby Mackey's, but that's in Kentucky.
so many
Actually,
locations and so many investigations.
yeah.
I was just digging through my memories in my mind. This one was honestly really crazy because it doesn't really have anything to do with like Navajo culture or anything.
Hmm.
But this one was by far one of the darkest places we've gone to. And in this location, this is where the SB7 really shined in this location because it was affecting Pattaya really badly. And we were in that room with the doll. I don't know if you remember that room. It's on the second floor.
I think
Um,
that's the one I went up to.
yeah.
Yeah, the bar is downstairs, and then it
Hmm.
just kind of lets you. Yeah, that's the one I
Hmm.
went upstairs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the second, or it's either the second or third story. I believe it's the third story, the top floor, whichever one that was. But in that room, Pattaya was getting affected, and he asked to leave. So Hero asked him, he was just like, "Hey, can he leave? You have to ask the doll to leave. You have to ask the spirit to leave." He's like, "No, no, he can't." In the spirit, in the SB7, it says, "I said stay." In a woman's voice, said, "I said stay." And he says, "I can't stay. I have to go." So as he was leaving, the spirit said, "Cut his throat." Inside the
Oh,
spirit box, it was like full sentences coming through there. And I was just like, I've never heard like full sentences like that come out in a constant communication. And then his condition kind of got worse until he left the building. And then he got better afterwards. Then he came back in. But hearing threats like that, like cut his throat, that's dark. That's very morbid to kind of hear that. And so to kind of, you always see it like in movies, you always see it like on TV shows, but to actually experience it yourself and be there, you feel the energy get tense in the room, and you're just like, okay, this dude's for real in this room and everything. So that's one of the most tenser things I've experienced.
yeah. I've seen that. I've experienced that myself. At one location, it was kind of a separate event, but a friend of mine, he and I were talking about something, and actually someone had shown us an arrowhead
Mm-hmm.
made by this Native American man. This was in LA. Very long story short, but this arrowhead was made by this Native American man, and this guy was very, very negative. I don't think he was any kind of like witch doctor or anything like that, but he just he led his life on a very negative path.
Yeah.
And I think he put his energy into that stone because he was an artist as well. And someone
Yeah.
had shown me the arrowhead. I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. And I showed my friend, we're sitting at a bar, we're talking about it. And my friend looked at it. He held it for all of like 2 or 3 seconds. Within 5 to 10 minutes, he and I were in an argument, and we almost came to blows in the sidewalk outside, you know, and we were afterwards because he's kind of spiritual in a way as well. And I'm like, you think it could have been that arrowhead? He's like, oh man. So these energies, they can physically affect you, and they come out of nowhere. And it's in my experience that, you know, I tell people, I go, you might be affected if you have like an intense irrational anger coming out of nowhere. You know, that's been my experience when that's at least for me, that's a cue, that a possibility that there could be some kind of dark energies at work is the anger right away.
Yeah. That's one thing that's really important is your teammates that you have with you, your crew that you have with you. It's good to pick the right ones, because the ones that know you, that, like I said, it was mainly all family that were a part of Unearthing the Supernatural, and lifelong friends since elementary school. So we all know each other. We all know each other's tendencies. We all know each other. Like, you know, if I don't have food, or, you know, I don't have my smoke, you know, like I wake up only a couple hours of sleep, I get a little crappy. So,
Yeah,
but like,
I could see that when I met you guys. For those of you watching, for those of you watching on YouTube, I will add a link right up here in the corner of the screen somewhere to the video where I first met Shanclen and his brother and their old team at the Vulture City Paracon, and that's one of my more popular videos. I mean, it's sitting on almost 3,000 views now, something like that. Yeah, there a lot of people like that video. There's a lot of positive comments on it. But I'll attach the link to that so you can see where we all first met and how I set off a REM pod when I didn't even want to. That's a whole other story.
Oh yeah.
Right on. Now, when it comes to your channel and interacting with your audience, how do you handle the skepticism or criticism? You know, because a lot of people, when you have a YouTube channel, you know, most people think, okay, you're chasing the views, you're chasing the subscriber numbers, and that's a very tiny part of it, because ultimately you're building a community.
Yeah.
Okay. These are people that get to know you, that like you start to recognize the names in the comment section. Like, hey, yeah, you're back. I love your videos. Ooh,
Yeah.
video, you know, and it grows really into a community, you know, and you're going to have discussion. You're going to have, you know, some disagreement, you know. So how do you handle the skepticism or the criticism that pops up?
Pretty much whenever like discussions like that happen, whenever I have time to have discussions with people, it's kind of hard for me to like have time to respond to all the comments and everything, because there's so many, especially, you know, with the videos of the Skinwalkers. A lot of people have questions about them, and, you know, I try to do that's why like I make a couple different videos of Skinwalkers, because there's honestly I try to answer questions as much as I can, and building that community of something. What I'm trying to do with my channel is build a community of people that share their experiences, a safe place to share their experiences, no matter what nationality, no matter where you come from. And I think that's the greatest blessing I have seen in my channel, is people all the way in Australia, you know, Finland, and all these other places all the way across the world, explaining experiences they've had, beings that they've seen, from their stories and all that, to be able to be safe. And maybe like, hey, you know, like I only tell stories from my experiences and where I come from. I'm not saying that's the final word of how it is and what it is and everything like that. Like I can't, but like for me, people always ask me about like the Wendigo and all that stuff, and I always say I can't really do a video on it, because that's like I don't know too much about it. So like I don't want to give it any misinformation out there for people. And so I only speak on things that I know. So whenever somebody that does know about the Wendigo or these other beings I have questions about, you know, there's always somebody in the comments who's willing to help me out and teach me a little bit about their culture, wherever they come from. They don't even have to be indigenous about it. And yeah, there are a lot of, people, trolls out there that like try to come in there and just start some stuff, but I always usually remove them, because whenever you see like that negativity, somebody like heartfeltly like went through something in their life, and there's some dude that's underneath there saying some crazy things about their story, I'm just like, I kick him out, because I'm just like, I want this to be a safe place for people to express themselves and share their stories and be like, wow, that's really interesting that you went through that. I'm glad you made it out safe and all that stuff. So that's kind of the community I'm trying to build together and have healthy discussions. There's a difference between unhealthy discussions and that just want to start drama and trouble and everything, to where people are just genuinely curious. And I always try to do my best to answer the questions. Either I get messages on like Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. So there's so many, but I try to do my best to get to them as much as I can. If there's a reoccurring question, I always try to make a video about it. And yeah, that's pretty much how I do my community
practice,
interaction. Yeah.
Enough people are asking about this one subject. Oh, they want a video. Let's make a video. That's cool. I like that. And I mean, I've had my share of them as well as the trolls. I mean, if you don't like the video, okay, that's fine. If you have a constructive criticism, that's fine too. But if you're going to make it a personal attack, on me or my appearance or something, it's like, I don't need that. That's why on the comment section, those 3 little dots. Pro tip for anybody who's watching, YouTube comments, if you don't like the comment or if they're being very nasty, those 3 little dots, you put the arrow over it. One, it'll say hide user comment. You click that, the comment will disappear from the comment section. Only the person who made it won't know. Nobody will see it, and YouTube still considers it viewer engagement.
Yeah.
So they have no idea that they've been like, wiped off and nobody sees their comment. Like,
yeah. So all you YouTubers out there who are listening into this, it's so because you want to, it's also hard because like for me, I was really kind of thinking about it, like, well, why do some of these questions kind of really like affect me so? And it's just like, well, that's what happens when you make a YouTube channel based around your culture, because then somebody talks crap about your culture, but it's just like, that's just one of those things. It's a given. You're going to have trolls. You're going to have negative comments, no matter how good the video is. Somebody's always going to be having a bad day that just wants to let it out on someone random,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, which leads us into our final approach segment of our show. Now, you didn't bring it up, so it's up to me to bring this up. At the time of this recording, which is somewhat early April, the Shanclen Shadow Productions YouTube channel, you started it roughly 9 months ago, and just last week you reached quite an impressive milestone. Would you like to share that?
Yeah, so I recently just passed 50,000 subscribers on my YouTube channel, and I just want to give a huge shout out to everybody for enjoying my channel and just growing to what it is now. When I first started, I never thought that people would want to watch my stuff or anything like that. So it's honestly huge, and I'm honored to be where I'm at now.
So just to reiterate, your paranormal YouTube channel you started less than 9 months ago has already reached 50,000 subscribers. That is amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Everybody listening right now, like, what's your secret? Do you have a piece of advice? What worked for you?
Well, I honestly have to think, even though I'm not a part of Unearthing the Supernatural, I should let everybody know I left Unearthing the Supernatural due to kind of creative differences. And I kind of wanted to go down more of a less darker path in my life, more happier and kind of more my own kind of take on this. So advice I would have to give a lot of love to that as well, because when I started that one too, we were about good 3 years into that channel. So when it came to that channel, I was doing the editing, and all the stuff that I learned how to do was all self-taught. So when I started this new channel, I already had all that knowledge of how to edit, how to engage with the audience, and always stay on beat. So I would have to say, any recommendation to any of the people out there who want to start a YouTube channel, one thing I did was look at the top performing YouTubers that are on YouTube channel itself. You know, they would go on interviews and podcasts about one I would go see would be Mr. Beast. You know, he talks about YouTube algorithm, he talks about thumbnail, he talks about titling and everything. You know, and then Markiplier, who's a gaming dude, nothing paranormal, but still, it's as far as for reaching, being authentic, being you. You know, that's what people really love about a channel, is that connection one-on-one, about liking the creator and the YouTuber itself. So just have fun, honestly, do your passion. With me, it's kind of different because like they always say, like, always stick with a niche or whatever.
Mhm.
And with me, I'm kind of doing like a double kind of thing with my channel. I'm doing paranormal, and I'm also doing like production work and videos and movies and everything, which is kind of, I just kind of threw away the niche thing, and I was just like, I'm just going to do what makes me happy. I'm just going to do content that I do in my everyday life that I find personally I'm enjoyable. So hopefully people in the future will be able to enjoy that too. So just have fun and just be creative, try new things. You know, it's YouTube. It's not like a big old huge TV production to where you have to follow the rules. You have to follow this format. You don't have an executive producer on you or anything like that.
Yeah, the best advice I've heard Mr. YouTube, well, pretty much he is Mr. Beast, give in this regard, and it's so simple. But he's like, with every video, just try to be better than the last. You know, if it was music, try to pick better music. If it was a script, try and do it a little bit better. He goes, just try to do better than your last video,
Mm-hmm.
and expect your first 100 are going to suck, and then go from there. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, wow, that's what it comes down to. Just try to do a little bit better each time. I think that's what we're all searching for. If I look at some of my early videos, it's like, please let me, I'm gonna shadow ban myself on that one.
Exactly. Like if you look at my first video that I have, like the music was way too loud, the background music that I have. My first videos I did that, you know, and then like, but slowly but surely, you know, I started getting equipment and everything like that. And for everybody out there that's just starting out, it's okay to film on your iPhone. It's
That's how I
okay to
started.
yeah, exactly, you know. It's okay to have shitty equipment because like that's how I started out, you know, and it's taken a couple years, yeah, but you know, it's something that every piece of equipment that you get, we call it jish in the Navajo tribe, our traditional items that we have. This camera that I have right here, this mic, everything that I have in
Yeah.
here is my jish, it's my children, it's my babies, you know. So you know,
And
it'll
it
come in
builds.
time. Yeah.
It builds up fast over time.
Hmm.
Like, I barely can get in my closet right now because I have so much stuff in there. Like,
Same.
holy, yeah, like stuff falls on me. Um, Now, outside of the paranormal, what is one hobby or interest you have that might surprise your viewers?
So I recently started. I do a lot of gaming. That's one thing. It's kind of like my thing too, because I still work a day job. You know,
Mhm.
that's a lot of people out there that ask me that too. It's like, are you a full time YouTuber? Like, not yet. You know, I do have 50,000 and everything, but that's still not enough to be able to pay for rent, food,
Right.
and like vehicle payments and everything like that. So it helps though. That's how I got these equipments and everything. So working a day job, making videos at the same time, playing video games is a nice escape from reality, to be able to just go somewhere else, take your mind off somewhere. Now, I know there's stressful games out there. Yeah, like Call of Duty. Yeah, I used to play that a lot, but I would just find myself stressing out more when I was
Yeah.
playing that game. So, you know, just trying to find a relaxing game, or drawing, or I recently started picking up the guitar too. My uncle is a phenomenal guitarist, and he lent me one of his acoustic guitars. So I'm recently started learning how to play that as well, and it's a nice escape.
So, can we expect a Sean Clin's Shadow Production album down
Oh,
the road?
maybe, you know. So stay tuned, everybody. You heard it here first,
I
everyone.
like it. I like it. Now, before we get into the last, there is one I have to bring up because if you get me started talking on movies, we will be here like 3 hours. But there's one I thought of that because you do the occasional movie review. I still have to
Mhm.
watch the one about the zombies. You just did a video review about the Native Americans.
Oh,
They get
Blood
bit by
Quantum.
blood quantum. I
Yeah.
saved that. I think it's on Amazon Prime. I saved it. I'm going to watch it because I'm
Hmm.
like, I never heard of this movie. I have to check it
Hmm.
out. But there's one. It's an older movie. It's came out in 1992. It's
Hmm.
actually a Hallmark Christmas movie called Miracle in the Wilderness with
Ooh.
Yeah, it's with Chris Christopherson and what is her name? Kim Cattrall,
Hmm.
and it's a Western. And the short version of it is it's the Native American version of the birth of Jesus.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, because for a Hallmark movie, there's a lot of action in it. There's like knife fighting, blood and
Yeah.
guts, people getting shot and killed. It's a
Hmm.
really good movie, but it's a Christmas movie,
Yeah.
and I watch it every Christmas. It's just I've loved
Hmm.
this movie since I was a kid. And essentially, the premise is he's a mountain man. He's settled down with his wife, and they have a baby. And these Indian chief shows up with his guys, and they kidnap them, and they're taking them
Hmm.
across the border into Canada.
Yeah.
And Chris Christopherson's friend is following them with the cavalry, and it's taking them several days. So each night when they sit down, just to stall for time, the wife is sharing the story of the birth of Jesus. But
Yeah.
Chris Christopherson, being the mountain man, knowing them, he's like, say it this way. Don't set it in the winter. They hate the winter.
Yeah.
Set it during the summertime. And I mean,
Hmm.
just so many details. And they have so many Native American actors. Two of them, one, he plays the chief. His name is Sheldon Peters Wolfchild.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure if, and his name in the movie is Many Horses.
Mm.
So it's called Miracle in the Wilderness, 1992. I would love to get your perspective on it. It's just I've seen the movie like probably 20 times.
I'll have to check it out. I haven't seen that one yet. It sounds really interesting, and with a name like Mini Horses, he's probably pretty wealthy. Yeah,
Yeah,
especially
yeah.
in
I
those
mean,
days.
yeah, and the wardrobe in it, the coat that the chief wears. It's like
Hmm.
every time I watch that movie, I'm like, I need that coat. I'm
Hmm.
gonna find that coat somewhere. So
Yeah,
that's one for your. Yeah, that's one for your movie reviews. Hopefully.
yeah. I'll add it to my list for sure because I actually found Blood Quantum from one of my viewers who was watching my videos. He recommended watch Blood Quantum and everything. So I want to hit all those classic movies like Smoke Signals, Powwow Highway, and all those other ones too. Those classic ones and everything.
Okay, so here's a couple of rapid fire questions. Just you can say yes or no or either or. Favorite cryptid?
I would. Most popular one is Skinwalker, but I would have to say that's like the premise of my channel. But I'm gonna have to go on a lighter note and have to say Bigfoot.
My man.
Yeah.
Scariest location visited?
Bobby Mackey's for sure.
Ooh, you've actually, yeah, I think they tore it down.
Oh, really?
I heard it's being torn down. They either sold the
Oh,
property or yeah, but it's no longer there. They're tearing it. It's either been
oh,
torn down or they're tearing it down.
damn. That sucks.
UFOs, real or not real?
Real.
Okay. Preferred ghost hunting gadget?
Preferred ghost hunting gadget. I would have to say REM pod for sure.
Right on. And daytime or nighttime investigations?
Nighttime for sure. All day or all night, I should say.
That works. Okay, and we have touched down. We're coming up to the arrival gate. And at the arrival gate, okay, this is where we need to find out what's coming up for Shanclen. Okay, what's coming up down the road? Where can our listeners and viewers find you, your social media, all that good stuff?
Yeah, so I'm going to be beginning my travels to go, starting out with my nation, the Navajo Nation itself, to meet indigenous people and craftsmen and elders to tell their stories and everything as far as for traditional knowledge and everything. Hearing it from themselves instead of hearing it from me all the time. That's kind of one thing I've got coming up. I have some more production things that's actually happening in the works. I have a music video coming up later on this month, actually, with a Navajo heavy metal band. So I'm going to
Wow.
be going on that route as far as for the kind of more production side of things. But I'm still going to be doing paranormal, everybody. So I'll be doing kind of like a mixture of both. So if you guys want to check all that stuff out, I'm at Shanclen Shadow Productions on YouTube. You can find me on Instagram at official Shanclen SSP, or just look up Shanclen Shadow Productions on Facebook, and you'll be able to find me.
And if you're watching this on YouTube, I will provide links to all of his social media in the description below. So he's just like, oh, that was cool. Boom, click, and you're right there to see everything he's working on at this time.
Oh.
Shanclen, man, it's been good catching up. Okay, we got to do this again. I think we can make this a regular thing as far as like different subject matter and back and forth. It's just really good hearing from you, man. And
Heck yeah.
congratulations again, 50,000 subscribers
Woo.
in less than 9 months. That's amazing and well deserved. You're an awesome guy. You had really good energy. Please tell your brother I said hi. Please tell all the guys I said hi, and thank you for the heads up. I finally came to terms with all that coming up. That was a whole separate video I'll talk about later. But there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Shanclen, Shadow Productions. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. This has been Beyond the Compass, where the worlds of digital nomads and the paranormal meet at the crossroads. Until the next time, see you on the journey.